for Rebecca, so I'm super excited to bring her on to the show this evening. She's our first breast cancer survivor of the night and first one we've talked to in about a month. So Rebecca is here. How are you doing, Rebecca?
I'm doing great.
Uh,
And yourself?
I am awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I was telling you last night, I was like, normally we plan things out a little bit further in advance, but I know that our scheduler got with you this week and you jumped in and said you'd be happy to join us this evening. And I'm so happy that you could do this. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Awesome, awesome. So we chatted a little bit yesterday about your story about going through breast cancer. And every time I have a breast cancer survivor on the show, I always like to start at the beginning so that people can understand how you came to know that you had breast cancer in the first place. Can you take us back? I think you said it was in 2008, right?
Yes, it was 2008. I myself found the lump, and I had had a mastectomy, a mammogram in January of 2008. By June, I found the lump, and then I didn't get an appointment until July. And they did the biopsy. They did the mammogram. They did the biopsy, and it was positive for cancer.
Wow. And do you remember how you felt in that moment? I mean, I know I do, so I assume you remember too.
Um, I had had problems with my breast for since I was 30, so it had been a while, but of course it was never cancer. Um, I wasn't really shocked because I felt the lump and it was hard instead of, you weren't, I wasn't able to move it around. So I kind of knew. And then during the biopsy, she told me that she had trouble pulling the needle back, and that wasn't a good sign. So even before I got the call, I knew, and I knew even before that. But it was 6 months that I had had the mammogram, and from there, of course, I went through one doctor, and he only removed the lump. I got a second opinion, and it was downtown Fort Worth, and she said she could not do anything because I had already seen the other doctor. So I had to find a surgeon, because she told me that there was 30% chance of getting it on the right breast. So I did, and it was even worse than I thought. There was calcifications on both breasts, not only on the left, because that's how it all started with, fibrocystic and then calcifications.
Yeah,
And I
that's
didn't even know that I had calcifications on the right breast because
yeah.
they never told me. They just said I had them on the left breast.
Yeah, that was something that you and I had talked about was that we both had fibrocystic breasts, which I came to know later is actually a risk factor for breast cancer. And so it's good to reiterate that to those watching so that people know that if they do have fibrocystic breasts, to consult with their doctor and see if they need to be screened more frequently or possibly differently. Because I know back when I was getting screened, the best thing to do for fibroid cysts and be able to see around those easier was ultrasounds. So it's really important to check with your doctor and find out if you have fibrocystic breasts. So to your point, I'm glad that you were able to find it through all of the fibroid cysts and be able to tell the difference and get it caught early.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a round lump. It was like it was long for some reason. So I just knew, even before, like I said, I just knew that the feeling was different, the lump was different, and it was hard, and I couldn't move it around. because before, when I had other surgeries, um, I was able to move them around because the doctors showed me how to do that. But the doctors here failed to do ultrasounds, even though I had, my past with the fibrocystic, and I had had probably like 3 surgeries on that same left breast, and everything was fine. It was never cancer until June of 2008.
Well, and that's the one thing when you have cysts like that, and you kind of just get used to it not being anything. At least for me, when it was something, I was really surprised because, I was just used to it not being anything. But like you, whenever I knew it was different, and you knew that yours was different as well. I knew visually because they were showing it on the screen, and I had gotten used to what fibroid cysts look like, and when they showed the one that didn't look like a fibroid cyst, that's when I was a little bit nervous. And then for you, you could feel that it was different, and you felt in your gut that you knew what was happening.
Yeah, I did. I really did. Um, I just knew. I knew that that's what it was. I never thought from having, previous surgeries for fibrocystic that that would ever happen because, I said to myself, okay, well, they've been doing surgeries for years and years, so they should know that there's nothing there. But within 6 months, and then the shocking news was the doctor told me, you've had that cancer has been there 6 years.
Yeah, I remember you
And
said that, and I wondered. I would love to go back in time and ask that doctor, like, what was like. How did they age? Like, how do they know how to age a cancer? Like, how can they tell? I wonder how old a cancer is. I mean, obviously they have some way, or he wouldn't have said it. I'm just curious to know, like, how he knew it had been there so long. But the good thing is that it was slow growing enough that in that 6 years time it didn't become, you know, deadly, right?
yeah, I don't know, I was shocked at that. That was a shock because, and at the same time, I got angry because of all the mammograms, because every year I would have them, but without ultrasounds. They when I moved over here, they stopped doing them. When I where my hometown, they used to do them. They used to do an ultrasound, a mammogram, and an ultrasound. I don't know, you're kind of, your mind is not working that good, so I didn't even ask. How do you know that it's been there for 6 years? I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe how big the lump was, I don't know, but the lump was, it was long, like I
uh-huh.
said, and
Yeah.
the other ones were not. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. And you're right, like in that moment when you're diagnosed, it's not like you care about that kind of stuff. You have bigger fish to fry at that moment in time. So
Exactly.
so Rebecca, after you were diagnosed, what was the first step as far as treatment? Did you have a surgery or any kind of treatment at that point?
Um, I went to a doctor that refused. I did want a mastectomy. I did because I've had so many problems with my breast. But he did not want to. He said no. So he only took that lump, and then I developed a hematoma. I think that's how you call it. So the breast got even worse. Uh, that was another issue that I had forgotten to mention. But after that, um, I went to get a second opinion with a lady. I don't remember her name. She was really good, and she said, if you were my daughter, I would tell you that you need to take both breasts, not just the left, the right too. And then I went back to that doctor. He refused to do the mastectomy. He said, no, no, you don't need it, da da da. But the lady saw my x-rays, and she said, you've got calcifications on the right side, and it's 30% that you're going to get cancer. And of course, at that time, you don't want to sit and wait for that. I didn't. So I finally found a surgeon, and he did do the surgery. Um, did the mastectomy, and then I went through um, other procedures because I did have the implants, which at this time I'm to the point where I don't recommend that. But it's up to you know every each and everyone that thinks about that, I guess.
Yeah, that's
I did.
one of the things you and I kind of touched on a little bit yesterday was that yeah, the decision to have a double mastectomy and have reconstruction or not have reconstruction is a super personal one. But I do feel that every person, whether they had reconstruction or didn't, should have the opportunity to share their experience so that when people are faced with this decision, they have the most information that they can to make an informed decision because like we had talked about the other day, there's a lot of things that you don't realize at that point in time. Like I didn't even realize until like a year ago, I think it was, that if you do reconstruction, you have to come back every few years and have it redone. So it's not like one and done kind of thing. Depending on the type of reconstruction you have, you may have to come back, in 5 years or 10 years or whatever it is. And that was something I had no idea about, which made me personally, for myself, the reason I didn't do reconstruction was because I didn't want to have additional surgeries or put my health at any extra risks. And so, especially now knowing that there would have been even more surgeries, I'm super glad I didn't do it just because that was my reasoning. But like you said, it's a very personal decision. And so, like you said, you've kind of come full circle on it and are kind of uh, not happy with how things have gone for you. So please continue and tell everybody about your experience. I want everybody to hear it.
Yes, if anybody's thinking of doing reconstruction surgery, I don't know if it's changed, but in 2008, it is a very, very difficult procedures because you have to, they put expanders and they have to get to a certain point, I guess. Very uncomfortable. They do it in an office. You have no anesthesia, nothing like that. It was very hard. And then they did that in 2010. And then I had the doctor that I had passed away. And I went for a checkup with another doctor. And he said, something's not right. So he had to take them out. And he said, I will never tell you what I found. And then he took them out,
That's
and then
that's scary. And
it
so
was
he never you still don't know what he found?
no, no,
I
he would
wonder
not
if,
tell me.
because you hear all these crazy stories, not to add more drama, but you hear all these crazy stories about someone leaving some kind of a, medical tool inside of somebody's body and crazy stuff like that. That's instantly where my mind went when you said that. I'm like, "Oh my gosh." So they went in and they had to take him out because he found something crazy and he didn't even want to tell you what it was. And to this day you don't know what that was.
Yeah,
Wow.
everybody knew that doctor very well. He was a good doctor, but I didn't know at that time that he was dying of cancer. So that might have been a factor that he didn't do the procedure right. I don't know. Um, but I was referred when he passed away. I was referred to this other doctor, and he did do this another surgery in 2011. And I'm coming up. They say 10 years now. That's what they're saying. 10 years. I gotta have them checked. So this is the year that that's gonna happen, which I'm not looking forward to it because I had about 5 surgeries with with the cancer. And then of course previous to that I had other surgeries in that same breast. So I have to make a decision to uh, remove them, or I don't know what they do. I don't know if they take them out and put new ones on, but I cannot do that. There's no way.
So what is it?
So
what is it about your current situation that you're, I mean, other than the potential for surgeries, is there discomfort right now? Or is it visually just is not happy? You're not happy with it visually? Um, if you don't mind, I know I asked you yesterday. I was like, "Is there anything you don't want to talk about?" So hopefully, just what you're comfortable talking about, Rebecca. Of course.
Well, I don't know how they're able to insert implants in there because my skin is very thin and I can actually feel the implants and they do move and they're all my breasts are always cold, but it's the solution in there. So it is uncomfortable anyways, but you get used to it. I've had them for 10 years. Um, but it's hard to get used to them. Uh, I like I wouldn't do it again. I
Yeah.
made not that I made a mistake, but at that time,
Right.
and nothing was explained either. Like you say, they didn't explain. If they would have told me, hey, well, you know what, this and this and this,
Right.
you're gonna have to have them checked. And then at that time, I think between these 10 years, they were telling women to that there was cancer if you had implants. Not not that you didn't have cancer, but that they had to have them checked. And I thought about that, but the doctor told me, well, there's nothing there anymore, but you do have to have them checked in 10 years. So that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I got you. Hey,
Yeah.
Rebecca, I hope you don't mind me mentioning this. I think it's really brave, and I'm so happy that you're talking about this today. I know when we spoke that, you mentioned that you haven't been very forthcoming, or you haven't really spoke out and gave your testimony about going through breast cancer. And I just want to remind you that it's so important what you're doing and sharing your story with other women out there that are watching. A lot of people come to our page that are scared and distraught, recently diagnosed, and to be able to learn from your experience is just invaluable. So I'm really happy that you were open to talking about this today. So
Yeah,
thank you
it
for
is the
being here.
first time.
Yeah.
And I really want to encourage women. I don't care what age they're at. I was 58 when they found the cancer, but I had had problems with it since I was 30. So I have so many friends that don't have mammograms. They don't go for their annual checkups for, pap smears, blood work, whatever. So I encourage everybody. They cannot detect sometimes because our breasts, as we get older, they get dense. But I know you and I talked about now they have a 3D, I think we said.
Yeah, the
Uh,
3D mammograms, a lot of the facilities have those now, and they're so much better at catching at
at
early
catching.
detection. Yeah. And we talk about another thing to think about, you and I are both advocates for early detection and getting your mammograms, and especially knowing your risk factors. That is so stinking important. If you have fibrocystic breasts, that's a risk factor. If you have cancer in your family, that's a risk factor. If you're obese, overweight, that's a risk factor. There's a lot of risk factors out there. So know your risk factors, talk to your doctor, and get checked out. There are women out there that would beg to be able to get a mammogram. We're funding mammograms through Breast Cancer Can Stick It because there's women out there that can afford it. If you're a person out there that can afford it, has insurance especially, and even if you don't, we can hook you up with places where you can get a free mammogram if you can't afford it, if you don't have insurance. Um, get that mammogram because it is so important. It's more scary to not know than it is to know, because if you know, you have an opportunity to save your own life. It's so important. Just driving that home, Rebecca. I got a little amped up just now with that. So I just wanted to remind everybody of that. But you're so right. And I hope that everybody will do that and make sure to take care of their own health, because no one is a bigger advocate for your health than yourself. So you got to stay on top of that for sure. So you said coming up this year, you're gonna meet with your breast surgeon and figure out what's next as far as if they need to make any changes, and at that time you might just consider to go flat. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm I'm gonna say I'm 99% because to be honest with you, they are uncomfortable. Of course, when you have clothes, nobody can see nothing. But even if if you sleep without a bra or whatever, because I do wear kind of bras on and off, and most of the time I don't. Um, they are very uncomfortable because, like I said, they move. If you sneeze, you can feel them. And like I was saying, the worst feeling was that they're always cold. I don't care what the temperature is. Your implants, I don't even call them breasts, but your implants are cold.
Right, right.
And I
Yeah.
can actually feel them
Crazy.
because my skin is so thin. So, and I did not get the last surgery was to reconstruct the nipple, and I couldn't do it. I was already tired. I was just too many surgeries. That would have probably been the sixth surgery. So I just didn't do that. And I didn't even do the tattoo because the skin was so thin. I was afraid they were going to not do it. Something might happen,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they do it in the doctor's office though.
Uh-huh.
They get a tattoo artist that comes in, and I guess, they're probably very well trained.
Uh-huh.
But my skin is it's just so thin. I just said, I can't do this. Plus, I couldn't do it because, like I said, too many surgeries. So, one thing I do want to mention, um, I had I had no pain medication after the mastectomy. I refused morphine. I also refused. I was stage 2. I also refused getting chemo. And once I talked to the doctor that they sent me to, because that's your the last appointment after the surgery to go to an oncologist, and he was very understanding, and I just said I it hasn't mine was it had not spread. As you well know, they take out lymph nodes before the surgery,
Right.
and
They
they
should
took out.
they
Yeah,
biopsy your lymph nodes to make sure it hasn't spread to there, and yours was contained in your breast alone, right?
yeah, it was my cancer, and I don't know if all cancers are like that, but mine was confined to the milk duct. And he said it had not broken through. If it had, it would have gone to the lymph nodes, and then I would have been in trouble.
Yeah.
So to this day, I did not take, I haven't taken anything.
No
I think there's
chemo.
pills too that they give you.
Yeah.
There's radiation, chemo radiation
Right.
pills or something. But
Right.
I just, through prayer, I just didn't take nothing.
Yeah, yeah, and again, that's another thing that's a personal choice. You have to do what you're comfortable with. I know in my case with triple negative breast cancer, they really push hard for chemotherapy because it's actually more effective against triple negative at that stage that I had. So it was something that I definitely wanted to do, but it's a personal decision. I want to jump back for a second when you were talking about your breasts and that you didn't have the nipple reconstruction. A lot of people out there probably don't realize it, but when you have a double mastectomy, you have reconstruction, oftentimes the first round of things you don't have nipples, and many women just say, I don't need the nipples, and then they just don't have to worry. They don't have to wear a bra or anything because you don't have the sagging problem when you have reconstruction normally. And then if you don't have
Exactly.
nipples, you have to have a bra to cover up your nipples so you don't see them through a shirt or whatever. So I hear a lot of women who've had reconstruction that they don't do the nipple reconstruction because they just like the smooth, and it's just easier. They don't have to wear a bra and things like that. But I think it's interesting because, like I said, a lot of people probably don't realize they don't think about when you have reconstruction that you don't just automatically, have nipples, or a lot of times you can't spare your original nipples. So I think that that's interesting. And then the fact that you powered through without chemo and that you're doing well, this over 10 years later, was it 13 years later or so, since you were diagnosed, and you've been cancer free since that moment in time. You're going strong. You're diagnosed at 58, and you're doing really well health wise, right?
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I'm gonna with this annual checkup in July this month, I'm going to probably have that done in August. Go to the breast surgeon that did that. And we'll just take it one day at a time when that comes. I'm not looking forward to it. I'll be very honest with you, but I wish they would have done the nipple when they did the actual reconstruction, but they don't do it. They want you to go through another surgery or the tattoo. I didn't even want the tattoo. But the reconstruction is another surgery because they take skin from, wherever part of your body they can, and then they reconstruct it. And I just said, I just can't do that no more. So he understood
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of doing 2 sets of implants.
Yeah. You've been
So
through enough. You're good to go.
yes,
Well,
yes,
Rebecca, I hope that you'll be able to come back or at least touch base with me in the future and let me know how you're doing after you go see your surgeon later this year. I would love to keep up with you. I know Denise introduced us, and Denise is watching right now. So, Denise, thank you so much for introducing us to Rebecca so that we could have her on the show today and she could give her testimony of her breast cancer journey and your strength, and you're an inspiration. It's always wonderful to see someone so far out from their breast cancer diagnosis doing so well, Rebecca. And I'm just so thankful you could make it on the show this evening.
yes. I'm glad to be here. And again, I cannot tell all the women out there, and I do tell them about getting mammograms
Right.
and getting, their pap smears and stuff, but most of them don't know. And maybe now I can start telling them why I always bring that up to them. But, they're drinking, smoking, whatever, having fun. And I guess they just don't take it serious. But I take every part of my body serious, even a dental appointment.
You and I talked about that. And again, I think it's so important to do that. I think another thing, Rebecca, that you and I spoke about yesterday was that, having gone through breast cancer, it just gives you a very different view of life. And you definitely want to do all you can to take care of your health. There's some great videos that Dr. Joyce O'Shaughnessy goes into on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/breastcancercanstick, youtube.com/breastcancercanstick. And she talks about some of the things that increase your risk of breast cancer, and some of the things that you touched on just now are those things. So it's super important to at least have the knowledge. And I guess if you still want to party, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with partying every now and then, but you want to just take care of your health and follow your doctor's advice and get those annual checkups, especially when it comes to your breast health. So, girl, I'm so thankful you could make it tonight, and I hope that you will keep me posted on how you're doing through Denise, and maybe we'll be able to talk again in the future. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I will let you know for sure. And I want to just thank Denise, because if it had not been for her, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't have done it.
Denise rocks, man.
I like I said, I know you because of being a drummer, but I met Denise through another friend, and I didn't know she was involved in this group.
She's been so awesome. Yeah, she's amazing.
Yes. Yeah, I want to give her a big thanks and a big hug.
She just commented in the chat room here and said, "You are so welcome." That she's watching you right now and sending you a lot of love. She says, "Stay strong and always keep the faith." And she also said that you are so brave.
Yeah, I tried. I'm still trying, So.
Well, you're killing it, girl. You're slaying it. Well, thank you so much for joining, Rebecca. Keep us posted, and you have a great evening, all right?
I will.
Take care now.
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, that was Rebecca. She's a rock star. And speaking of